Alright, what's up everybody? This is my first video that I'm making, and what I'm doing is I started reading the Bible, and I started at the very beginning, and I'm going through, and any names or really interesting words that jumped out at me, I would get them and translate them into their Hebrew meanings. And by doing that, it really opened the Bible up to where things had new meanings, and I was able to see connections because the entire Bible is just a network of connections. And for example, in the New Testament, if you read, when it's like quotes things or when Jesus quotes things, those quotes were said by people that happened in the Old Testament. And so by reading the Old Testament, it opens up the New, so you can see the relationship between the two. So if you're following along, it's awesome, or just taking notes, or if you're just watching it, because you saw it, that's awesome. Um, but to go ahead and begin, I'm just going to start at the beginning of Genesis, and instead of telling you just like questions that I came up with, like if I read a verse and I wasn't sure what it meant and I thought of a question, I'm not going to bore you with all those. What I'm going to do is like things I thought were pretty interesting that, you know, if you read it for the face value, and then what I found out what it really meant, I guess, like found a new meaning, and I'm hoping that y'all be able to see those and make those throughout the Bible. So things that appear one way, when you really dig into it, it means something totally different and really opens up a new door. So I hope that made some sense. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start out at the beginning of the Bible, and let's see. I mean, pretty much the first chapter of Genesis is talking about creation. Okay, and and what I thought was pretty cool, how it says, um, let's see, in chapter 1, verse 6, when it talks about, it says, let there be an expanse between the waters to separate water from water, and it says, so God made expanse and separated the water under the expanse from the water above it. And so, and he called the expanse sky, and then all the other water, if you keep reading, he made it into oceans or seas. So, but he also said he separated the waters from water. So in reality, like what it's saying is water, expanse, water, but the entire expanse is sky, and then the water under it. So the water above it, I don't know, could be the ozone or something, or clouds possibly, since that's technically water, like water vapor. I don't know. So I mean that's something can spark some questions. But anyway, creation's creation. It's pretty straightforward what he does. But in chapter 2, what I'm really going to highlight on is the rivers. And it's going to open an entire new window and perspective for the entire Bible after I tell you all this stuff. And so what I did, like I said, I got like the names of the rivers. I translated them into Hebrew. And then I saw where those names are mentioned elsewhere in the Bible, and try to find connections. And I found a couple, so I'm going to read those. The four headwaters of the River of Eden were the Pishon, Gihon, Tigris, and Euphrates. And so what you have to remember, and keep this in the back of your mind through the rest of this video, and I'm going to try to make it quick. You have the Garden of Eden, and then you have the River of Eden that flows through it. And then from that river, you have the four headwaters. And so it's like the shape of a delta, okay? And so pretty much like everything derives from God pretty much. Like I kind of think of the River of Eden as like the perfect river, the river of God, or something along those lines, because you know how the Garden of Eden was perfect until man created sin, and once he did that, he kicked man out of the garden and put a cherubim and a flaming sword and to guard the entrance. But I'll refer back to that in another video. So you have the delta form, okay? So remember that. And here's what I'm going to talk about the meanings. The Pishon, which means spring about and be scattered in Hebrew, and the abstract meaning is kind of like be strong, increase, separate, or spread, kind of like a delta. Which, if you keep watching my videos, I refer to the rivers elsewhere, like in other parts of Genesis, and it's going to be a huge connection. But going along, Gihon, which is the Hebrew word, which is Giah, which is Giah, and it means to burst forth. And what's pretty cool, there are two Gihons mentioned throughout the Bible. One is Eden's second river, which is what I'm talking about right now. And then second is mentioned in a place near Jerusalem where King Solomon is anointed king, and I think it's in 1 Kings 34. And apparently the Gihon is some kind of a waterway because King Hezekiah, he reroutes its course in 2 Chronicles, and I have it in 2 Chronicles 32:30. So if you want to look at that, you can, but there's a little connection for you. Going on, the third river is called Adakel, or in Hebrew, which is Haddakel, and that's mentioned numerous times throughout the Bible. And it's derived from the Hebrew verb, which I don't know how to say this, but it's HDQ, and it means to split, sting, and separate. And the noun HDQ, which I don't know how to say it, means a prickly thorn, and it's referred to as a prickly thorn in Micah 7:4 and Proverbs 15:19. So there's another connection. And so if you break down Adakel into HADQAL and QOL, which is its Hebrew spelling, it's like sharp, swift, and frivolity or lightness. So if you want, like a sharp, rapid, or rapid, swift, rapid. So you can kind of think of something like that, just like really quick, just get the job done. Something along those lines. Like, I don't really know how to describe that, but you got something out of it. And then the fourth river, and I'm at 6:50, so I'm trying to hurry up. Euphrates, it translates into the Hebrew word para, which means be fruitful and bear fruit, either or. And the name parat, which is identical to the word fruitful when it's used in this sentence, which is in Genesis 49:22. And it says, Joseph is a fruitful son by a spring. So think of a spring as being the river, the Euphrates River, and then fruitful, which is the name of the river. So, fruitful river. Hope, got something out of that. See the connection there? And it's remarkable because the name of Joseph's younger son, Ephraim, which is Epram, and Ephraim is derived from the verb paro, which means be fruitful. And so parat means fruitful. So there's like a little connection there with names and everything else. And so everything I showed you about the rivers, I'm just going to sum it all up. The four headwaters altogether in their Hebrew meanings means spring about, burst forth, separate, and be fruitful. And if you think about that, that's pretty much what we're to do as God's people. We're to bear the fruits of Christ. We're to spring about, just go out, talk to people, and hopefully, save people, and burst forth, kind of like spring about, and separate, kind of go along with spread, burst forth, and like I guess you could say, I didn't think about this till now, but kind of like separate ourselves from the non-righteous to an extent, because it's our duty to save people and teach people God's word. And because nobody wants anybody else not to go to heaven, and so it's our job and it's mentioned numerous times throughout the Bible, that what we're to do as Christians, and one of those things is love our neighbor and pretty much like help them and save them. So if there's someone who's non-righteous, it's our duty, to just convert them, as you could say, even though that kind of has a negative connotation sometimes, because a lot of people think convert, people just like get hounded on everything else, which I honestly don't think that's the right way to do it. I think it should be more of just like a one-on-one, kind of like a lone thing. So anyway, sorry about that. And so what I did is I got the names of the rivers and put them into like a paragraph. And you can kind of twist around the words however you want to, but I hope you see what I'm trying to say here. We're all derived from God, River of Eden. We are to burst forth, Gihon, from God, or the River of Eden, however you want to say it. We're to spread, Pishon, throughout the world, bearing the fruits, Parat, of the Spirit, and separate, Adakel, God's people from the wicked ones. So, I hope you got something out of that, or like spark some interest, something along those lines. But I get a little bit better with, I guess, taking notes and connecting and everything else, and hopefully my other videos will be better after I get a little, after I start making other videos and kind of get better at it. But that was chapters 1 and 2. Like as far as creation, I really didn't go into depth about that because, like I said, it's pretty straightforward. But if you are reading your Bible and anything like sparks interest, or you have any questions, or if you find something that's pretty cool and remarkable, feel free to tell me because I love these things. Um, so hopefully, y'all, you know, want to start looking at things in Hebrew, I guess, because it will open a new door. So, yep. If you watched this long, thank you, and I guess I will see you guys on my next video. Thanks.